Greetings, people of the internet. I'm Scott with Serkworks Art Labs. Welcome to the underground laboratory where we create robots, aliens, zombies, and other imminent threats to humanity. And we're working on comics today, once again, because we are doing the 100 Days of Making Comics Challenge. And that is where you spend 30 minutes a day, every day, working on your own personal comic book project. My personal comic book project is this one. This is issue 1, but there's 2 other issues available on my website at serkworks.com. It's Young and the Dead. It's a story of Sam Young, his little brother Tad, and a ragtag group of kids who wake up in the middle of a zombie apocalypse and had to fend for themselves and battle and find a cure and all that stuff. It takes place in the 80s. It's like an homage to Goonies, Monster Squad, those type of shows, I guess. Movies? Those are, I guess they're movies. This is a comic. Where am I going with all this? Anyway, I don't know. But anyway, I'm working on issue 4 right now. And if you watched yesterday, wait, before we get to that, before we talk about what we did yesterday, I almost forgot. We got to figure out where we are in this challenge. So, I believe, if I am correct, we are at day 35. We got the big Sharpie, we got our big notepad. We write that day on there so we know where we are, so we can track it. And so day 35, that's where we are now. We're getting there. But like I said, that's day 35. Day 34, which was yesterday, I was doing a little bit of spring cleaning. I brought out some of my comic books that I had as a kid, and then I started to think. I started looking through all these, and I'm looking back at artists that I enjoyed growing up and that kind of influenced me. Now maybe obviously my work is nowhere near as good as theirs, and maybe it doesn't look quite like theirs, but in some way, shape, or form, they had an influence on me and some of the stuff that I draw. I don't know if you'll be able to tell, like I said, but. And I'm just going to show you 3. Now, there's tons and tons of artists that influence me, so I can't really go into all of those, but I just thought I'd pick 3 that I really like. And if you guys have been around for a while, you probably are familiar with some of these guys. But anyway, so first one I want to talk about is George Perez. Now, if you guys, George Perez is like the master of like multi-character like battles and things. Like he did this one, Crisis on Infinite Earths. This is at one time what kind of just changed the whole DC universe. And if you look, here's a crossover he did, a Marvel and DC crossover. That doesn't happen very often. Hasn't happened in a while. But this is the Avengers and Justice League of America. This isn't from when I was a kid. This is a little later. But let me see if I'm trying to find just some of these battle poses and stuff he has, but he's just so great at taking all these different characters and just, you know, it always amazes me. The other thing I like that he does, it's just like the stuff in space and the rocks and all that kind of stuff. Really cool. I love George Perez's artwork. Another one that I collected as a kid. This one, you know, this is probably a smaller teen book, but of course, Teen Titans, his run on Teen Titans, very cool. Again, I mean, look at, I don't know if you can see this, there's just tons and tons of people in this crowd right here. He does not skimp on the detail. It's just amazing. So George Perez, I'm a big fan of George Perez, and man, I really love his stuff. And one of these days I want to do like a pinup or something that is involved with something that he does. But man, it's pretty time consuming. But this is just awesome. He's one of my favorites. Another one of my favorites. And you'll kind of see a little bit of a trend here as far as the kind of style that I like. I like the detailed stuff, but I also like a little bit of cartooniness to it. If you've seen my characters, you know they're a little bit more on the cartoon side. But this one is Michael Golden, and this is he did a lot of war books that I collected. And I don't know if you can see just his expressions on his faces and stuff like that, and just a lot of detail in the machinery. If you've seen some of the stuff that I do, not necessarily in this book, but some of the other stuff I do, I like to draw a lot of machinery and gadgets and things like that. But he does a lot of that with the vehicles and stuff like that, the tanks and everything. And he's just got so much expression on his face. And I think he kind of changed his style a little bit more recently. I don't think his newer stuff is quite as cartoony as this, but I really love this. This is another book that he created called, I don't know if he created, but he was definitely the illustrator for The Nam. Again, another war story, and it's just so, I remember when this book came out and there were a lot of people that were kind of bashing it because it's such a serious book about Vietnam and everything, but his characters are, his characters have, like, if you look at this guy here, see, it's kind of cartooniness and stuff to it, but I love that stuff. I think that really is what makes this book, valuable and just not monetarily, but just because he did add that, I don't know, I just like the way it add a little bit of levity to something serious. Not that it's like a jokey, cartoon, but man, look at this guy. I just love the characters that he does and just the shots and the angles. Michael Golden, big fan of him as well. And let's see, here's another one of his, another one from Nam. And another one I want to show you. This might be one of my favorite artists of all time. When he came on the scene, I just remember, to me, there was like nothing else like it. I don't know, and there's been a lot of imitators since then, but Art Adams, and this is the first book that I bought from him. Long Shot. This is kind of an obscure sort of mutant character. He started, I don't know what his first appearance was, but this is the first I knew about him. And his powers are, I think, just that he's lucky, just things go his way, and that kind of helps him out. But man, the artwork in this thing is really cool, and he did a lot of, he was like one of these guys that came in and he kind of shook things up because he would take characters that you know and love, and then he would like give them new costumes and everything. He did a lot of that and a lot of stuff in like the New Mutants annuals and things like that. But man, I love his stuff even to today, and I'll show you some more recent stuff that he did. Well, this one, I don't know if this is as recent, but if you look at this, look at that. Man, it's like, and he does he still has sort of a cartoony look to it, and like, but some of his characters, like this guy here, he's kind of, it's almost kind of a little bit like a Bernie Wrightson-esque thing, but not quite, and it's but just his line work and everything, man, all these little different textures. He's got some of the Kirby crackle that of course he borrowed from the King, Jack Kirby, but just all this stuff going on here, really cool. I met him at a convention and he signed these, and it was really cool. And of course, this is what I stopped by his booth and I saw this because I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I'd never seen this piece, and I was like, and I'd never seen the guy before. I didn't know what he looks like, because a lot of times with comic book creators, you don't really know what they look like. And I didn't know it was him. I said, "Are you Art Adams?" And I just kind of had to gush because I am such a huge fan of his. So anyway, those are some creators that I grew up with that really kind of got me into wanting to do comics and everything like that. So, and I think tomorrow what I'll do, I might talk about some current creators that I'm into now, and you could see some of the similarities and some of the differences. But what are some creators that you grew up with that you really dig, and what are some creators that you're into now? Or maybe you should save that one for tomorrow when we talk about it. But what characters that you grew up with are you really into, and what helped inspire you to create comics? I'm really curious. Leave that in the comments section. But we got to get to work on the comic book. So we got to get to work on Young and the Dead. So we're going to go up here to the paralleloscope and check out what's going on with the process of this comic book coming together. Now that I'm getting ready to start doing the actual illustrations, like I said, I'm going to do my sketching and everything in Manga Studio, but then I got to print that out. I'm going to need some Bristol to print out on. Now I've got the pre-rolled stuff, but Manga Studio already has its own rules, to plan your page out and everything. So I don't want to just print out on pre-rolled stuff, so I need some paper. So I'm thinking, well, I should go to Michael's and see if they have any Bristol there. And I figured, well, why not look online and see if they have any coupons, because they've always got coupons. And I found this, it's 60% off a one regular price item. I don't know if you can get much better deal than that. And it's only for like today, for like 3 or 4 hours, like 3 to close, I guess. I don't know how long they're open, so I guess a little longer than that, but awesome. So hopefully they'll have some there. I looked at the Strathmore and the Canson, and I went with this Canson. Overall I think I like Canson a little better. Now this is a bit larger. They had the Strathmore 11 by 17. This is 14 by 17, which means I get more paper. I'll have to cut it down, but then I can have extra that I can use just to test my brushes out on, or for sketch cards or anything like that. But what's cool about this, the reason why I didn't get the Strathmore is because it had the smooth finish, which I don't really like for inking because it takes a little while longer for it to dry. If it's got a little tooth to it, it seems like it dries faster, and then you get less smudging. But this is kind of cool. It's got two sides to it. I know you can't see it on video, but it's got two sides to it. One is a rough side, one's a smooth side. Now, even the rough side is pretty much what I like. The smooth side is still a little rougher than the smooth side on the Strathmore. So hopefully this stuff will do pretty well. I've used Canson before. I haven't used this green color. I don't know if that makes any difference, or the double-sided, but I like that idea that you can either go with a smooth or a little more of a tooth to it. So score, and it ended up only being a little more than $8, which is awesome. So yeah, you can't beat that. Got my Bristol paper, but what I realize is that this is too big for my paper cutter. I mean, I can cut it widthwise, but the length is just not going to work. So I've got a straight edge and an X-Acto. I'm going to start cutting out this. So I need to cut this down to 11 by 17. So I have my comic book sheets. So hopefully, if my printer is working, I can just have to make sure that X-Acto knife was not going to roll off the table onto my foot. And it sucked right in the ground like a lawn dart. Anyway, so I got to cut this out, and then hopefully my printer will behave, and I'll be able to run these through once I get the roughs done in Manga Studio, which I'm also working on, and I'll show you some of that probably tomorrow. But first I got to cut this out. Okay, we are back, and day 35 is done. So day 35 does not want to be done. It wants to hang on for dear life. But we've got to crumble up day 35 because we're always looking forward to the future and getting more progress done on our books. So bye-bye day 35. I'll see you tomorrow for day 36. That is all. Hey everyone, you've seen the process, now you can check out the story. Issues 1 through 3 of Young and the Dead are available at my website at serkworks.com. Also follow me on social media at the links listed below. Subscribe and check out some of the other videos in the series. There's much more to come.